Hi, everyone. I want to just continue our conversation about reflection technique. So I will be releasing a guided meditation that's longer on this topic because I feel the first one was really had a lot of instruction that's required. And of course, all the work we do is cumulative. It's transfiguration from the inside out. So your ability to access a good state of sovereignty is primary. If you're not in a good state of sovereignty, then bringing up something to work on in reflection is already going to be unstable information, let's say, because of your lack of sovereignty. So, you might think you're doing reflection technique, but you might actually just be working on sovereignty and the resistance to sovereignty. And it's really important that, you have a stable connection to a good quality field. And in order to do that, you've obviously got to think about, what am I in alignment with right now? Am I in alignment with the sacred? Am I humble? Am I willing to become new? Am I willing to see the truth? And those are not just words that are empty, those are vibrations. Can you feel whether you're resonant to those vibrations or not? And if you're not, can you notice from someplace deep within yourself, what is maintaining separation? What is in resistance? So these are really fundamental. So, when you're doing any guided meditation on any topic, you've got to start with a good sovereign connection. Otherwise, you're starting with a field that's not stable, and you're going to get more distortions and confusions, and you have to go back and become sovereign. So once you're sovereign, then you can do reflection technique. It's a sort of chicken and egg situation in some ways, because, reflection technique is one of these fundamental foundation stones, if you will, when you think of the world that we live in from a dualistic and polarized perspective, where there is always subject-object, there's always me and other. Sovereignty is a deep understanding from a direct experience that I'm a unique expression as a singularity, not divided, of the one self. And the one self being that deeper self, that deeper reality from which we are all birthed in every moment. So when you can't just go there, maybe you can, that's great. Hope you learn to stay there. But the task, as Rumi said, is not to seek for love, but to really find all the barriers that we've built against love. So often what we're doing in the mind is, I want to get to love. And the mind can never get to love because it's divided. So something has to become aware of the divided mind. And that part of you is either another separation, there's layers to these mental pieces, or it's a level of awareness that's noticing. Yeah, you might not even notice that you're noticing. So it really is a practice. And what reflection technique enables, you can do reflection technique on anything. You can do it on the weather, on your partner, on your ex-partner. You can do it on your cat. You can do it on a flower. You can do it on me. You can do it on the light. You can do it on the absolute. You can do it on your body. If your mind-body split, you can do a reflection technique on your body. There's really an infinite number of separate pieces that you can reflect upon. What we're looking for when we do reflection technique is, through the process, we come to find the subconscious material that's holding us in separation. So, you know, the thing that's triggering you out there is actually the gift. Because if you do the work on the thing that's triggering you out there, you will find the subconscious material that's maintaining separation. So I want to use an example. It might not be relevant to all of you, but to some of you, like, for example, you know, Bill Gates is getting a lot of media attention. Most of it's probably fake news. We don't really know. So if you chose to do reflection technique on Bill Gates and you had an agenda for him to become different and the world to become different, then, you know, you're not really, you're going into reflection technique with an agenda. The idea is not particularly to change Bill Gates, though in some way you're changing the world that you live in. And so you are not creating more karma with him or with anybody, with yourself. So, you know, as you work on what's maintaining separation between you, you're going to find, you know, a lot of material, you know, there, because he symbolizes sort of a petty tyrant or a perpetrator extraordinaire, you know, somebody who is rich and perhaps not engaged very much on a human level emotionally. He represents somebody who has a lot of power, and he represents somebody that has an apparent amount of control. So, you know, many people who have been wounded have had that. So, you know, how you perceive him doesn't actually say that much about him. It says a lot more about what happened to you. And, you know, his business is his business, but your business is that he can enable you to find out what happened to you by symbolizing the perpetrator to your victim. So he can help you birth your power out of victimhood. So if you know, you can work, these things come around in cycles. So for example, you know, staying with the idea about Bill Gates, you might get to a place where you find the connection of divinity between you and him. And you might not feel any more subconscious material and you feel okay. And things will have changed a lot of your energy field. It will move you out of the karmic mode into a singularity of you, a powerful singularity of you. It doesn't mean that you'll never work on Bill Gates again, because, you know, the whole field is in constant shift. And so there'll be other maybe events or dynamics that might happen in reference to him, for example, which could then re-trigger you and give you more material. So, you know, what I'm trying to say here is that with reflection technique, it's kind of like all the work that we're doing, you're not ever really done. You're kind of spiraling in a infinite cycle towards, you know, the singularity of you in the center. So, you know, you might be done with that and not be triggered for a year or two, and then something will happen and it will come back. And it's probably more valuable to notice that in the cycles that we might have with our relational dynamics, our intimate relational dynamics, where, you know, maybe something started out with you and your father and then duplicated with you and your partner, and then, you know, each time you cycle with the masculine, if you're a woman, or vice versa if you're a man, the relational possibility, if you're learning as you go, is different and new. And so you're moving through cycles of learning and healing. So when you're doing reflection technique, the first thing that you'll notice in reflection to something is that there'll be an experience in your field. So what we do with that is, once we've got a sovereignty, once we've got a grounded, stable connection, and we're noticing that, is the willingness to feel it fully and to become one with it, is to notice the emotional flavor, to notice the location in relation to your body, the size, the shape, the space that it occupies. As you're noticing it, it's changing. So that's healing. And as you're noticing it, you start to move away from the trigger and you become absorbed in a direct experience of the sensation in your body. There may be more than one sensation. And the intention in that exploration is to become one with it. So know thyself, or integration, is really to move out of a separate me looking and to become fully immersed, merged within the experience, so that you know it directly. So that engagement and that connection and that curiosity is the healing at this level. And so when you're feeling into that sensation in the body, the intention is to feel through to its deepest origin, which might have nothing to do with whatever triggered you. It's like you're going through time. It's like these are called trauma strings. And I think there's a diagram somewhere that I can share, and I will, on trauma strings. And so you're leaving the story about you in relation to the trigger, and you're just becoming vibrational felt sense, and you're doing diligence to a humbleness and a curiosity and a sincerity to not know anything, and to move out of the frame of reference of your trigger and to move directly into the felt sense. And that is your soul guiding you as you listen, connect, and touch and embody the felt sense of that trauma imprint. It starts to change. And there comes a point where it stops changing and you're kind of sitting there and it's just there. Maybe it went from a 10 to a 3, but it's not gone. So when it's not gone, the only reason that it's not gone is there's something in your field that you're not seeing. So what's really, really valuable at some point is to notice where stillness is in relation to this sensation in your body. Because the you that's been noticing is entangled with it and therefore cannot fully heal it. Stillness, however, is not entangled with it, though you may be entangled with stillness. So this is why the Trinity, you start to understand the Trinity as you keep doing this work. So the first step after having as much of the experience as you can is to see what's left and then explore without a movement out of the wholeness of you. Explore where is stillness in relation to the body. So now you have a contrast as well. So stillness is sort of the end point, but I'm just going to remind you that you're still entangled with stillness, but it's still very powerful. So as you explore stillness and you merge into stillness and become one with stillness, it also changes. There is a force within you which knows who you are. And so the stillness is likely to expand and spread. You know, unless your entanglement is in absolute fear of stillness, which it might be. We don't know what's going to happen. We follow the moment. So this is not a formula for your mind to learn and to understand. It's an endeavor to inspire how you explore and to understand what to do when you get derailed. So as you explore the stillness, let's say that you have a sensation in your throat and you've got the stillness outside your body somewhere. And you feel into the stillness and you become one with it. It changes, maybe it becomes closer to you. And now you start contrasting your throat to the stillness, noticing the whole bubble as well. So you've got this whole field of awareness. You've got the location of the experience in your throat, and you've got stillness. Yeah, it's dynamic. They're constantly changing. So the whole is really, really fundamental, because if you're not in the whole, you're not noticing everything. And it's a practice to be able to keep, can be a practice for a period of time, just to be able to maintain a connection to the whole, the back body, the front, top, bottom, side, the whole bubble. So when things get derailed, it's always good to go fill up your bubble. And assuming that you're in your wholeness and you've got your throat and you've got your stillness, there is a third experience, which is not the throat and it's not the stillness. It's what's in between. What else is here? It's the rest of you. So you've got three things to contrast. And the most valuable thing is, if you said stillness was the end point and the throat is what you're stuck in this dimension right now, it's your learning edge, it's your teacher, is that once you know both, you want to feel what is keeping them separate. So that's a quest or a query, inquiry. But there's also a space, like if the stillness was here and the throat thing is here, then what's keeping them separate is in between the two. So this becomes more involved as we explore polarities, which I'm not going to get into right now. Anyway, so all this work folds together. I mean, it's a matter of practicing and noticing what works and what doesn't work, and finding out your particular wiring and your particular proclivities. When I sit one-on-one with you, I really have no idea what to do, but I'm listening and learning about you and how your system works. And it's really noticing that I kind of feel I'm just speaking on behalf of your soul to guide you, rather than I'm showing you the way. Once you've done the exploration between the experience and stillness, and you're gone as far as you can with that, if you want to continue, the thing that you're not seeing is your observer or your perceiver. So I'm going to talk more about that later on, but specifically, there's a sense of I. So in the beginning, as we do this work, you notice it by checking. This is how I'd invite you to do it for now. Those of you that are new to the work, if you already know how to anchor and ground into your observer, just go there. But if you haven't quite got there yet, that's a huge step. If you haven't quite got there, that's absolutely fine. What you need to notice, because there's something here right now that has an agenda, has an expectation, that's in a healing session trying to get somewhere. Always. There is always a sense of I. There's always a mood and an attitude and a position. And that mood, attitude, or position has a vibration in your field. And it's not to get mentally engaged with trying to, look at yourself and see who's here. But rather, it's more about noticing what's derailing the process. Who is it that's here? The trier, the doubter, the judge, the controller, the one that knows, the agenda. These are the flavors. Each of those has a vibration. You have your unique set of helpers. So what we want to do is feel where they are in relation to the body and just notice them. You can't do this wrong. Just your intention is what's required. Once you do that, you will notice that the field changes. If you spot that part of you that isn't 100% available to see the truth, when you do spot that part, the field will change. And you start to see the entanglement then between the me that's engaged in this process and what I'm looking at. That you start to become aware of the entanglement between the perception and what I'm perceiving. It's like we're looking through glasses. So all of this is in regard to reflection technique, but it's not uniquely about reflection technique. It's about sovereignty. As you decide, you know, let's say you've been working for a window of time for your meditation and you're done for today, you're never done. You know that you're never done, but you've done what you've done and you're complete for right now. You just want to check back with your trigger and notice how you respond to your trigger. This is very helpful because, you know, I think of this as like sometimes when you're aging, you don't notice every day that you're aging. It's only when you look back at a photo from 5 or 10 years ago that you notice that you've changed. And it's kind of the same as we're working with trauma. You don't notice that you've changed. It's just how you are right now. So it can appear very easily to you that nothing's changed. However, if you go back and check in with your trigger, so let's say it was Bill Gates. Let's say when you first started the process, he was, you know, a meter to the right. And you've done all the things that you've done. When you first started the process, you were activated at level 10, super activated. So when you check in now at the end of your process, maybe you're activated at 7 or 4 or some amount. You know, you have a subjective quality that you can, you know, sense into how activated you are in relation to your trigger. And also, where is your trigger energetically in space-time in relation to your body? Is it still a meter away or is he now closer? So these are the things that give you a clue or an indication that things have changed. And really that is all that we're needing to notice, is that things have changed. We don't need to understand specifically how, but we can know that if he's closer and our activation level has gone down, that we've cleared some material out of our field, work in progress. So do not get disillusioned. I constantly hear from people, especially in the early days or even years, of I'm not done yet. Well, I'm not here to tell you 30 years on, I'm not done yet. And I would be highly suspicious of anybody that says that they're done. So start removing that from your language. Start removing that from your language, because it's very disempowering to use that language. You're on a journey of discovery to find out who you are and why you're here. And you're living that. You're a living expression of your true self. And you're a living expression that's healing as you go. Okay, so that's a lot. I'm hoping it's helpful. You know, sometimes I feel like I'm repeating myself. And I'm working with a couple of different groups and people at all sorts of different levels. And so for some of you, it might be boring. For some of you, it might be a great review. And for some of you, it may be new. So I'm hoping that there's something here for you that was of value, that helps you inspire you towards doing this work and continuing your process. And I look forward to hearing how it's going. Bye for now.